Welcome to She-Maps. You have just opened your drone box and pulled the drone out. It's super exciting, I know, and usually the first thing that you want to do is just give it a crack and have a fly. But I'm going to ask you to pause for a moment and go through a couple of things to make sure that you really are ready. So the first thing that you're going to need to do is to charge the battery. So the battery comes in with the drone and it's at about 50% level charged. So to charge that, there's two ways. So you have the option of popping it inside the drone and using the cable that comes in the drone box as well. So you can use that to pop that in and charge it. Or alternatively, you can purchase separate chargers, and this one charges 3 batteries at a time, for example, or you can buy single chargers as well. So once you have that all charged, then the next thing that you need to do is to update the firmware on the drone. And again, there's two ways that you can do this. You can do it through the app that you're going to use to control the drone itself, but the way that I recommend doing it instead is to use the USB cable, plug it into the drone with the battery in, and then plug it into your computer. So on your computer, you're going to need to go to the Parrot website, and on the Parrot website, you'll be able to find where you download the firmware for the Parrot Mambo. Now, if you're not using the Mambo, that's perfectly fine. Whichever drone you are using, there's probably a firmware update for you to do on that particular drone as well. So you might need to Google for your particular model. And most of the companies that build these drones put out updates every now and then, depending on the drone, and exactly the same for big drones as well. This is not just a mini drone thing. All right, so to update the firmware on the Parrot Mambo, it takes maybe about 10 minutes or so. And again, so all you need to do is to go to the Parrot website, or you can also Google Parrot Mambo firmware update. You download that file onto your computer, and then you simply drag it and drop it into the file that will come up in Windows Explorer as you plug in the Mambo. So it pops up like it's another drive. So as that happens, you get some lights flashing, all that sort of thing, and then it goes on with the update. So it's pretty simple to do. All right, so we say you've got the batteries charged, and then you also have the firmware update, which is really good for the hardware that you're working with. So there's a couple of other little bits and pieces that I recommend going through before you start to fly. So we use a few different apps throughout this course, and also you'll need those for flying the drones in the first place. So the first app that I recommend that you download is called Collect 5. And I'll go through this one separately, but this is what we use to do our pre-flight safety checks. And again, this is exactly the same as what I use for my big drones when I'm out on a real mission as well. So we do Collect for our pre-flight safety checks. The next one is the drone app that you will use to manually control the drone. And for the Parrot Mambo, that's called Free Flight Mini. And so this is either on Android or iOS, so whichever platform you're working with, you can download that from the App Store. So we'll go through that separately as well. Now the next app that I'll get you to download is one that's called Kids Doodle if you're using Android. So if you're not using Android and you're on an iOS, the thing that we use Kids Doodle for, you can just use the Notes app that's already loaded onto iOS, okay? And then our final app that you'll need is Tinker. And that's the one that we will use for coding the drone later on in our aerial survey mission. So there's a few bits and pieces once you've downloaded all of those apps that you need to do to get things ready as well. So let's go all the way back to the beginning and the Collect 5 app. So what we're going to do there is once you've downloaded that, then you'll need to find the mini drone pre-flight checklist. And I go through that in the next module as well, okay? So exactly how we download that, you'll be able to find that in the video for the safety module. What I would like to go through is just a little bit with Free Flight Mini first. because that's the one that you're going to use to manually control your drone. So as I set up my drone, one of the things that I like to do is actually to name it. So I've put a name on my drone here. In this case, this is drone number 10. And as I do that, what I also like to do is to assign a tablet to that same drone. And so I've also got a number 10 on my particular tablet. Now this is important because what you want to do is to be able to make sure that a drone is linked to a particular tablet and you don't get any cross communication at all, particularly when you've got lots of students flying all together. So in the Free Flight Mini app, the first thing that we're going to do is actually to change the name in the brain of the drone, okay? Because although we've manually written on the outside of the drone, drone number 10, the brain of that drone doesn't actually know that that's what it's called yet. So we're going to go into Free Flight Mini, and as you open that app, you will see that it's going to start to sync to the closest drone to it. Okay, so this is really handy in the first instance to only use one drone at a time. So make sure the battery is in your drone, open up the Free Flight Mini app, and as it starts to sync, you'll see a little propeller turning. All right, so that's just in the upper left-hand corner of the app there. Now, as that's spinning, that's basically trying to sync to your drone, and you'll see the lights on the front of your drone flashing. Now when it syncs, there'll be a green dot that comes up next to the name of your drone in the app, and the name of your drone is going to be something like Mambo 123456, and the lights on your drone will turn a solid green. Now what I like to do is to make sure that I change the name of the drone to something that's a little bit more memorable, and in this case I'm going to call it drone number 10 or SheMaps 10 here. And so that's quite simple to do. All you need to do is to press and hold where that name is, and you'll see a keyboard that pops up. Delete the name that's already in there, the Mambo 123456, delete that out and type in the name that you want to call that particular drone, and then tick that to accept, and you have named the brain of your drone, which is awesome. So once you've done that, your Free Flight Mini is set up and your drone is set up in terms of its name. We'll come back to that later in terms of how to use that app when we are going through our Learning to Fly module. So there's one more app now that we need to set up, and that's Tinker. So with Tinker, this is the one that we use to program our missions. And one of the things with Tinker is that you actually need to lock the app to a particular drone. And it's pretty simple to do that. So if you go into the Tinker app, you'll see in the upper left-hand corner, there's a little button up there. And so if you tap on that, that will then give you to the option of going into the settings. So if you click on Settings and then go to Classroom Settings, what you'll then be able to see is an ability to turn Tinker into what's called classroom mode. Now once we tick that on and turn the app into classroom mode, it is only ever going to talk to one drone. Now as we've set up the tablet as tablet 10 and the drone as SheMaps number 10, then we're going to type in that exact same name here into the Tinker interface. So we'll lock that app on that tablet to that drone being SheMaps 10. Once you've done that, you can back all the way out and come back to the Tinker home screen. So once you've got all of those apps set up, you're actually ready to go. And the next module will take you through the safety application and our pre-flight safety checks.